So if you're thinking about starting a sales career as an SDR and BDR, we're gonna be talking about the pros and cons of these roles and whether or not it's something you should be interested in. What's going on, everybody? It's Patrick here. Now, before we get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And if you wanna take your sales game to the next level or even start your sales career, make sure to check out my masterclass, Sales Legacy. Link is in the description. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. So to start things off, we're gonna talk about the pros of starting a career in sales, specifically as a sales development rep or a business development rep, which are pretty much the same thing. And to recap, a sales development rep, really all your job is to generate meetings for another person to close, right? So you're not really a closer quite yet. You're just doing cold calling, cold emailing, LinkedIn messages to generate that meeting, maybe qualify the person over the phone, have like a 15-minute conversation, and if they're a good fit, pass them on to the person who actually closes the deal. Now, the pro of this job is that you can get started without any sales experience, right? Literally anybody can do it if you are pretty good with people, you're pretty good using like software and computer tools, like basic ones, finding people's emails, writing emails, and things like that. So it's a pretty simple job, right? No experience required, and it pays extremely well for an entry-level job. So if you're looking to change your career around or transition out of something you don't really like, and you need to start from the bottom, and you wanna work in tech, for example, well, SDR is one of the best places because one, it doesn't require any prior sales experience. Number two, you can get a high base salary and earn high commissions very quickly. And number three, if you're actually good, it's very easy to advance. And as you start getting better in this role and you start meeting different people at a company, what I really like about SDRs and BDRs is that you really get to talk to and interact with a lot of different people on the team, whether it's the marketing, engineering, even product in some cases. It's not like a job where you're kind of siloed and all you're doing is making cold calls, especially if you work in tech. It's a job where you can kind of get a feel of everything to decide where you want to go next in your career. And not only that, if you're aspiring to become a closer, meaning somebody who just like talks on the phone or meets a client in person and you close deals and you make the big commissions, well, becoming an SDR is pretty much one of the fastest way to get to that role. And then once you become a closer, you're good and you're working in America, you're making more than 6 figures. So it's one of the fastest ways to make 6 figures without really having much sales experience. It doesn't matter what your prior experience is, as long as you're like pretty good with people, you learn on the job, and you're pretty much all set. So we talked about the pros, you can make a lot of money and quite easy to advance if you're good at your job. Now let's go ahead and talk about the cons, right? What actually turns off people from starting their sales career? Now the first is that when you are an SDR or BDR, you gotta think of it like you're the front line. If you're in an army, you're the person in the front taking all the bullets, meaning that it's the most grindy type of job in the sales ladder, right? If you're a closer and you're only talking to people who are interested in buying your products, easy. All you're doing is talking to people that want to talk to you. If you're an SDR and you have to go out and find people who might be interested in buying your product and service, but they have no idea who you are, well, it's gonna be a grind, meaning you're gonna have to make a lot of cold calls, face a lot of rejection, send a lot of cold emails, get 0 replies, send a lot of LinkedIn connection requests and things like that, and it is typically a grind. So it's not for everybody. I would say like when I worked at Oracle, I was seeing a lot of people quit just because like they didn't like the day-to-day job. If you're selling a product and service that doesn't have product market fit yet, or maybe isn't competitive in the market, it's gonna be extremely hard to sell, and that's not your fault. Sometimes you join a company where the product is just not competitive with whatever else is on the market, and it just makes your job significantly harder as a salesperson, right? If you join a good company, it's a little different because it's easy to sell, but if you join an okay company or a bad company, very difficult to sell your product and service, and if you sell a bad product and service, you're not gonna make as much money, right? And you just get grinded out until you can't take it anymore, then you quit, and then they would just replace you just like that. The other con is like, even though you have a decent base salary, to really make the real money that you're really going after is to hit all your KPIs and your quotas. That may be challenging for some people because if you're not hitting your KPIs for whatever reason, you're not gonna make the money that you need. And so the thing that I learned when I was at Oracle and people kept telling me was like, whatever it is you're getting paid as your base salary, make sure that you can live off of that salary. You're not gonna go into debt or anything. You're not renting an apartment that's like way out of your budget. Stick to your like base salary, and anything commission on top of that, well, that's like bonus. Think of it like that, right? If you're looking for like a guaranteed, I wanna make X amount of dollars every single year, sales is not really for you because you're only gonna hit that goal if you hit your quota, which is determined by many things. It could be your individual skill as a seller. It could be how good your team is when selling becomes a team sport. It could be the product and service you're selling, what territory you're in. So there's so many variables that influence whether or not you're gonna be good at your job. Sometimes you're even rolling the dice, even if you're working at like a Microsoft, an Oracle, a Salesforce, whatever the case is, you don't always get the best territory. You don't always get the ideal situation. And sometimes if you're not in the best situation, you have to grind your way out of it before they put you in somewhere more favorable once you prove yourself. Right out of college, I started working at Oracle, not as an SDR, I actually started as an account executive who has to do their own prospecting. So I do understand what it is to be an SDR. So the question is it worth it? Well, I would say it depends on your goal. I joined Oracle because I wanted to learn the skill set of selling because I believe that if I learned how to sell, I can literally do anything in my career and and start different businesses because I would always know how to generate interest and generate revenue. And as you know, if a business does not generate any revenue, well, it's not really a real business because it doesn't make any money. And so I personally love selling because I wanted to learn that skill and have it for the rest of my life. Now, for other people, they may not have the personality to want to become a salesperson, right? Not everybody is willing to make 100 cold calls and 5 people pick up the phone and then maybe 1 out of those 5 are actually interested. Not many people want to do that. Other people, they want to, let's say, work behind a computer, not talk to anybody all day, do some accounting, work on spreadsheets, right? And there's a whole different world in that, and you can make a lot of money doing that. I would say it's only worth it if you want to develop the skill set of communicating, persuading other people, and generating money. If you don't want those skill sets, you definitely should not be in sales because that is essentially the job. Like if you're someone who's like more entrepreneurial, you want to work with people, you want to collaborate, you want to generate revenue, then obviously sales is going to be a good fit. But if that's not for you and you're more introverted and you don't want to talk to people, then it's not going to be worth it because you're going to go in because you think you're going to make a lot of money, and then you're going to be disappointed that you don't get the best territories because people can see you're not a people's person, and then you're going to complain, you get grind out and chewed, and then you get replaced. I see it happen over and over and over. It really just depends on what you want personally. For me, it was absolutely worth it. It really made a strong positive impact in my career and helped me do everything I am doing today when it comes to doing YouTube and creating content. The other thing people might be thinking about is like, if you do sales now, do you have to be doing it for the rest of your life? Yes and no. You don't have to be a entry-level salesperson doing grindy work for the rest of your life, that's for sure. But you will always take those skill sets, whatever you do, right? Like for me, for example, I used to be a sales rep working at Oracle and I started my own business. So am I selling in my current business today? I'm not like sending 100 emails every day. I'm doing different things, but it requires a communication skill set. So when I, let's say, want to hire somebody, I have to convince the other person, hey, this is why you should work at my company, right? In a way, I'm also selling, but in the form of recruiting. Same skill set, just different application. Or let's say when I'm, building this YouTube channel and I'm building other YouTube channels as well. Well, what am I doing? I'm communicating to a camera. You could argue that communicating to a camera is very similar to, doing a presentation or a pitch when you're trying to persuade a potential customer to buy your product and service. I'm not doing any grindy selling anymore, but I definitely am selling every single day in some capacity because I have to, because that's what it takes to get my message out there and generate revenue. For the people who are very entrepreneurial spirited and you want to start your own thing one day, whether you want to start your own tech company, your own coaching or consulting business, whatever it is, you can't go wrong with learning how to sell because you will have to do that sometime down later in your career anyways. So you might as well just get paid to learn that skill. And then when you're ready to go, just, leave your job, take the savings you have, and then put it into something else, which is exactly what I did when I started my sales career. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.